Welcome everybody to another lecture. Today's unit is Work Effectively with Others. The unit code is BSBWOR203. So we will be going through all of the slides today. Feel free to revisit any sections that you might find confusing or you need a bit more clarification. This will be available on the student portal for you to replay at any time. So as we'll be going through all of the slides today, you are more than free to pause at any time and come back when you're ready. We'll be going through the activities as well, where you can take the adequate amount of time that is given and then come back once you have completed that activity and then resume the rest of the lecture. So let's go. Develop effective workplace relationships. 1.1. Identify own responsibilities and duties in relation to work group members and undertake activities in a manner that promotes cooperation and good relationships. Responsibilities and duties. So responsibilities and duties may include observing the code of conduct that is in place for your organization, following your job description and any other employment arrangements. If there are relevant workplace policies that relate to your job role, any skills, training and competencies that you may need to perform your job, such as a food safety supervisor like qualification, or could be an RSA, RCG to serve alcohol, or to responsibly observe and service any gambling and gaming institutes or anything like that. Environmentally sustainable working practices and team structures. So this could be, in a management position or a group setting or anything like that, to follow proper structures and proper leadership skills, or working cohesively within the unit of people that you're working with. Work group members. Work group members may include a coach or a mentor, other members of the organization, peers, your work colleagues, a team of people that you might be working with or consulting with, or the enterprise, and most likely your supervisor or manager. Promoting cooperation and good relationships. So ways to do this include showing respect and encouraging others, working together with others and listening carefully, adapting what you say to a specific situation. Activity 1A. Which responsibilities and workplace duties should employees be aware of? So if we're thinking about this question, it's there's so many, right? So we'd want to maybe pick 4 to 5 examples. So for that, we've got the your job description that we're worried about, the employment arrangements, any training or any qualifications, any environmental sustainable practices that might be in play, the code of conduct, the supervision requirements, and the structures of the team. Okay, so include at least 4 to 5 of those, and then let's move on to the next one. Outline the responsibilities and duties that are specific to your job role. So for us, as we are chefs or cooks, if we are planning to work as a as a chef in a team, we need to understand our job role. We need to make sure who is leading the team, what role we play, and what role other participants in our team play, so everybody knows where the direction of the team is going. So as a chef or a cook, we need to know our section. We need to know our time frames of output, meaning how long it's going to take us to take out maybe an order from start to finish, complete a dish in a specific amount of time, how long it's going to take us to clean our area, how long it's going to take to sanitize, if we are logging, so where are we logging? Are we using software? Are we using logbooks to take down information? Are we stock taking? Are we receiving and storing stock? So as a chef, there's so many job roles. It just really depends on what section you've been given, what responsibilities you have in your job role. Okay, how do your responsibilities relate to work group members? So as a chef, okay, it is very related to everybody, as if you mess up, everybody else will also follow through and may make mistakes as you make mistakes, because it's like a domino effect. Okay, so let's say if you miss out something on the dish, that means now the next person who is in the let's say the assembly line might might not know what you've missed out, and they continue working on top of your work, and essentially that dish is maybe only 85% completed because you've forgotten a specific item that was supposed to be there. So we all need to work together to create a finished dish, because in most businesses, in most cases, not everybody will do all the roles that are involved in the business. So we need to work together and perform the tasks individually so that we can have one cohesive or one joint product that we are going to sell to the customer. Okay? Detail the effects of your workplace actions upon the development of teams and positive relationships. So when you've got a team that you're working with, you need to essentially listen, you need to be respectful, you need to include everyone and respectful of their opinions, have meetings so that we understand where problems are happening or any issues are coming up. We also need to understand that when we create positive relationships, essentially more output will be given. So if your colleagues are happy, that means they will work a bit harder. If you're happy, it means you'll enjoy your work, so you'll work a bit harder, have more output. Okay, so in the case of effects of your workplace actions on the development of teams and positive relationships, we're saying we always need to take positive steps as to increase productivity. Okay, so we always want to be taking positive steps as listening, helping. If we can make the process a bit faster, giving ideas so that we can produce more output and have less risk in the workplace. Alright, so complete that question, that activity. So we've got 4 questions there. So once you've done that, unpause the video and then we will move on to the next one. Develop effective workplace relationships. 1.2. Take time and resource constraints into account in fulfilling work requirements of self and others. So in project management, a project is a network of tasks. So resources should be allocated to ensure that a project ends on the time within the budget. An organization's options will be limited by the constraints that do occur. So project management is a process in which resources, procedures, and protocols are planned, organized, and controlled in order to achieve specific goals. Timeframes and deadlines. So ways to manage time. You need to prioritize the tasks that you have, avoid any interruptions or distractions, be disciplined, be organized, try and create a schedule, stick to your plan, and make time for meetings. Physical limits. These could be a resource constraint, more controllable elements, such as, if there's a shortage of a certain item or it's a seasonal item. These things could be heavily constraining your business and the way you can structure or create products for the restaurant. Examples of resources management include timesheet software, employee time tracking software, tracking time and expenses, resource management planning, critical chain project management software. Okay, so activity 1B, what is a project? So, a project could be a group of tasks that will eventually give us a desired outcome or a desired product or a certain end result that are comprised of multiple tasks. Okay, explain project management. So in case of project management, essentially we're thinking about compiling resources, structuring tasks, maintaining the time frame, following a schedule to get to our end goal or our finalize a product or reach the finish line that will give us a project essentially. So in the project management we need to think about the resources, the tasks that are involved. It might include labor, finances, anything that might be included. We need to manage to an efficient and profitable manner, and also keep down the risks and have a high safety level so that we can achieve the outcome that we want or the ultimate product that we want. Okay. What are time constraints? So time constraints could be anything really. It could be physical. So you might not be able to actually do the task in 20 minutes, or a certain task needs to be done in 10 minutes. So you need to figure out how you're going to cut down your current cooking methods or procedures to meet those time constraints. So essentially we're thinking about, in our industry, if we're doing takeaways, we might be thinking, okay, if we're pre-cooking, then we want to be serving a customer every 5 minutes. If we're cooking fresh food, maybe we want to be serving a customer every 10 minutes. So it's just giving yourself a time constraint, a specific duration where you want to hit that specific goal or task. Okay. What are resource constraints? So these could be physical or software based or financial. So if we're thinking about physical, could be anything such as not having the right ingredients, maybe being seasonal. If we're thinking about finances, maybe we don't have the budget for it. It's just anything that is limiting us to achieve or if we've got a limit to how much we can use to achieve our end goal. Okay, so this could be physical, such as products. This could be financial, such as money or budget. This could be such as people or labor. So there's so many resource constraints. Next one, detail the ways of accounting for these constraints when attempting to fulfill work requirements. So we would be using a management software. So there's various examples previously. We're using timesheet software for employees, tracking software, tracking time and expenses. We're thinking about resource management planning software or critical chain project management software. So things like that, okay, that we can use to fulfill work requirements. Okay, and most accounting, we have a physical, let's say a person doing the accounting, but it will all be inputted into software nowadays. Nobody does. It's very rare that you see people doing physical documenting of accounting for resources or things like that. It's all online or all in software and then printed and then stored away if needed. Okay, so complete those. Come back when you're ready, unpause the video, and we can move to the next one. 1.3. Encourage, acknowledge, and act on constructive feedback provided by others in the work group. So constructive feedback is an important element of an organization. It's issue focused, it's information specific, useful for indicating when things are heading in the right direction, helpful in redirecting problem performance. So examples of feedback may include formal or informal performance appraisals, obtaining feedback from clients, obtaining feedback from supervisors and colleagues, personal reflective behavior strategies, routine organizational methods for monitoring service delivery. So you could also use things like recordings to observe them and then document their day-to-day tasks and see, maybe you can compare with other employees to see how much or how less the employee is producing or having output or product. Receiving feedback. When receiving feedback, an employee should listen carefully, reflect on what is said, clarify by asking questions, and not be defensive or argumentative to the supervisor or manager when giving the feedback. So what is constructive feedback? Constructive feedback is things such as when they are giving you feedback, they are allowing you to build upon your current ability, and they are telling you how you can improve and what steps you can take to do so. So if they're just saying, for an example, you have done this task really bad, that is not constructive feedback. If they said your task was done in a unsatisfactorily timely manner, you have done it in a longer amount of time than you would have needed to do it, you have used too many resources, we suggest that you use half the labor that you used previously to do so, as we have done this many times with half the labor. So now you can use that feedback and say, okay, I need to use less resources, I need to use less people, and I need to do it in a quicker amount of time, instead of just saying, how can I do a better job when they've only told you you've done a bad job. So you see the difference when what is constructive and what is non-constructive. Okay, so when we're talking about constructive feedback, it's basically things that the feedback that we can build upon and then use to develop and better ourselves. Okay. Identified 3 types of feedback. So we're thinking about, in this case, so we're talking about informal, formal. We're talking about reflective behavior. We're thinking about feedback from clients or supervisors. We're thinking about organizational methods and other things such as could be performance reviews. They could be comparing us to other colleagues who have been in the industry or in the workplace, and then give us a structured comparison to show us where we are lacking and where we can improve. Okay, next one. What should an employee do when receiving feedback? So when we're receiving feedback, we should be listening carefully. We should be able to reflect on what is said, clarify by asking any questions if we are confused about the review, and then we should always have a open attitude and not argue and be defensive with our supervisors or whoever is giving us the review. Alright, next one, number 4. Describe a time you received feedback. Who gave it to you? What did they say? How did you use it? Okay, so if I was asked this question, so usually you would be given feedback, especially if you are starting in a new role. So in this case, when I was starting a customer service representative position at Woolworths, I was given a initial 20-hour workload, where if I would be able to pick up a lot of skills, then I could move into a full-time position. In this case, I was being reviewed. There were speeds for scanners. There was, if we had a RSA, we could sell alcohol. If we had knowledge about cigarettes, we could be a counter supervisor or shift supervisor, so we could essentially sell cigarettes as well. So we would be trained in supervision and logging staff in to their shifts if they've come in, designating them into different positions and things like that. So in trying to get that job, we would essentially go through the role, be shadowed by somebody, which would be the shift supervisor or manager. So in this case, you would be getting the feedback from your manager or supervisor. They would essentially tell you how well you did, where you could improve. So when we're talking about what did they say, they were talking about the speed and time of our scanning times. It could have been things such as our management approach was not open enough and not inclusive. Maybe we weren't paying attention to the knowledge that the supervisor or manager was delivering to us. Once we've gotten this feedback, let's say we would then go back and reflect and think, okay, if our scanning times were too slow, we would then need to maybe increase our scanning times, and we would practice, or we would ask others on how they have developed a quick scanning time. If we would think about our knowledge on product, we would then maybe go home and then do some research on the product and things like that. Okay, so if we're talking about something on your own, maybe you've had a job in the past. If you had a specific job role, you were supervised by the manager, maybe they told you to develop or get some training in a specific position so that you could essentially move up in your career or to get a new job role. They may have given you a review of how you've done it. Maybe you need to improve in certain sections, and if you do so, you might get your job or the job that you are hoping for. Okay, so complete those questions. Once you're done, unpause the video and we can move on to the next one. 2.1. Provide support to team members to ensure workgroup goals are met. A good team member listens and communicates. They are responsible, reliable, and flexible. They share knowledge and experience with one another, cooperate, make commitments, help and solve problems. They are respectful and offer support to one another. Support to team members may include explaining or clarifying anything that might be confusing or might be a new task to them, helping colleagues in any way possible, being able to solve problems or at least aid in providing any possible solutions, providing encouragement, providing any feedback to one another, and undertaking extra tasks if necessary. Advantages of providing support. By providing support to team members, you can ensure the workgroup goals are met, products or services are promoted, positive workplace relationships are developed, customer service is improved, professionalism is maintained. Alright, so activity 2A, what should you do in order to be a good team member? So in order to be a good team member, you need to be able to listen, communicate, be flexible and reliable, Share your knowledge and experience, be cooperative, and commit to tasks, help and solve problems, and be respectful and offer support. Why should you support fellow team members? So for you to support fellow team members, you ultimately want to have a fun and enjoyable workplace. If you don't support each other, you're not going to get that in your workplace, so you're not going to enjoy working. So ultimately, coming to work is not going to be something that you look forward to. If you support each other, you'll get more productivity, you'll be able to help each other out, you'll gain more experience, you'll understand more aspects of the job, you'll be able to also enable yourself to make the workplace a bit safer and more open for your other team members to be inclusive and let you know what they're feeling, what sort of problems they have. Especially once you become a manager, these things become really important because they're going to come to you with your problems, and if they don't think they can come to you, then it will be lingering within your business or the business that you manage. Then it becomes a problem for your business because they're not doing the proper productivity or the output of the product, meaning that you fall behind as a business and ultimately make less money. So we need to support our fellow team members so that we can have a fun and safe workplace environment and be more productive in the long run. Number 3, how can you demonstrate support for other team members? So to support other team members, we can do it by helping them solve problems, provide our ideas, encourage them, providing feedback, helping in any tasks that they might be finding confusing, explaining or clarifying anything that they might have issues with, and things like that. Outline a time. So number 4, outline a time you have offered your support to one of your team members. What did you do? How did they respond? Okay, so in this case, as chefs or cooks, we could say, or if I was asked this question, I would have sous chefs or apprentices who'd come in to learn in the kitchen, and we provide them support by essentially, giving them the training that they need to do their job role. So if they don't know the recipes, we'll go through the recipes with them. We might have a staff meal, when we go through what their job roles need to be. We might teach them on specific aspects of the business, so then they can take over that section and be responsible and have a long-lasting career in our business, and hopefully make our business more profitable with their knowledge and experience that we have transferred to them. So essentially creating a new team member in a position by teaching them so they can add to the business and help the business grow. Okay, so essentially if we're managers, we'd be training or providing support to new staff so that they can grow. So if they were responding, they would respond with showing more output or showing an understanding of their job role. So then once they've understood, we can leave them to do that job and focus on other tasks that need our management skills or training. Okay, so complete that activity. Once you're done, come back and we can move on to the next one. 2.2, contribute constructively to work group goals and tasks accordingly to organizational requirements. Contributing to the work group. So we should be listening, communicating, we should be reliable and flexible, be able to share our knowledge and experience with each other, cooperate and commit to the team, solve problems together, help others, be respectful, and offer support while we work with each other and when we're not there. Organizational requirements. When developing and completing work group goals and tasks, the organization requirements need to be taken into consideration. And these requirements may be such as goals or objectives of the company, any legal requirements that might come into play, the ethical standards that we may have, confidentiality agreements, resource parameters, business and performance plans or projects that we might have for the future. Effective teamwork. So achieving more than the individual members. Each member knows and understands their job role and what they're expected to do. Better use of resources and produce richer ideas. Outcomes are of higher quality. Outcomes are more efficient and increasingly effective, and individuals can benefit. So when we are effective, all these things come into play and allow us to be better. Poor teamwork allows us, well, what we can expect is that if one person, is giving out poor work, the whole team suffers. So it can be costly for an organization to have poor teamwork. The goals of the organization become more and more difficult to reach, and it impacts the workplace environment and everybody in the workplace. So activity 2B. Outline ways in which you contribute to work group goals and tasks. So if we're contributing effectively, we need to essentially listen, communicate, be reliable and flexible. We need to cooperate, offer support, and be respectful, help others, commit to the team and solve problems together. What organizational requirements do you consider when contributing to workgroup tasks? So when we're going to be contributing to workgroup tasks, we need to think about, what legal requirements do we have to make sure that we're thinking of, what are the goals and objectives that we have to maintain or reach, any ethical standards that we may be worried about or may need to identify. We need to be worried about, or at least make sure that we're within our resource parameters and making sure that we're not being choked or running out of our resources. Thinking about the business and the performance plans and any future projects that we might be working towards. And confidentiality, so making sure we keep privacy and not disclose any information that doesn't need to be disclosed. Okay. So number 3, why is effective teamwork beneficial? So when we work effectively with our team, we can achieve more, we can understand our job roles better and have a longer career in that industry. We can use the resources a lot better and produce richer ideas. Our outcomes are at a much higher quality, and we become more efficient and increasingly effective when we produce those products, and we all can benefit, including the business, and not be unhappy about what we're doing every day. What can the consequences be of poor teamwork? So when we have poor teamwork, we can have bad output, the whole team will suffer, from bad work ethic. We can, fall behind on tasks. The organization may lose money or go out of business. The goals that the organization has may become more difficult to reach, or maybe impossible to reach, and the impacts on the workplace environment may make it a unsuitable workplace to work in, and you may not be happy, and there might be too many risks, and may become a toxic environment for you to work in. Okay. Alright, so once you've completed those, unpause the video and come back, and we can move to the next one. 2.3. Share information relevant to work with workgroup to ensure designated goals are met. Sharing information with the work group. This information may include acknowledging satisfactory performance, acknowledging unsatisfactory performance, clarifying the organization's preferred task completion methods, assisting a colleague, encouraging colleagues, having open communication channels, workplace hazard risks and controls. Benefits of sharing information include successful decision making, everyone's strengths can be utilized, employee skills can be developed, problems can be resolved quicker, projects are completed more efficiently, employee satisfaction can increase, and the goals can be achieved. Collaboration in the workplace. Accomplishing a goal through shared ideas takes technological developments into account. Use a variety of perspectives to solve problems. It is important that there is a meaningful reason to collaborate. It should benefit the organization and the individual. A higher level of teamwork may need to be present for collaboration, and a more productive way to do things, so when we are collaborating it can be more productive, as in we can break in and select which parts we can break up and break the tasks down so we can achieve the goals a bit faster, and we can incorporate teamwork and equal participation when we're collaborating in the workplace, so no team member feels like they're doing a bit more than the other and feels like they're pulling the weight of the team. So activity 2C, give examples of relevant information you may need to share. So things you want to share could be such things such as performance, and if it was satisfactory or unsatisfactory, things that clarify the organization's preferred task completion methods, if we need to assist a colleague, encouraging colleagues, having open communication channels, and removing any risks or eliminating any hazards, and implementing controls in the workplace. Why should you share information with your work group? So sharing information with our work group allows us to make successful decisions and making the right decisions. It allows us to be more strong and allows everybody in the team to be utilized. We can develop our skills and move forward in our professional career. The problems can be solved a bit quicker, and it allows us to break it apart and solve it in smaller sections instead of trying to tackle a bigger problem. The projects can be completed a bit more efficiently, our employee satisfaction can increase, and goals can be achieved. So define collaboration in the workplace. So if we're talking about collaboration in the workplace, we essentially want to work together in the team and determine what our strengths and weaknesses are, so we can work together, be more efficient, have a better product, have a better outcome, have a better situation where the individual and the company can profit together, have a more enjoyable place to work in, build more trust within the group, within the team, within the business, and essentially think about how we can grow the business and solve the problems a lot quicker so we can grow a lot quicker. Number 4, give an example of an occasion where you shared information with your work group. What did you do? How did you do it? What are the effects? So if I was asked about my work group, we would be, we're always talking about how our sales are going, how our customer, reviews and complaints are coming. So those are really connected with each other. So if we're having a bad week, it really affects us as the customers. If they're giving us bad reviews, we can essentially see how our income will be affected, because we tend to slow down, we tend to take on these reviews personally as chefs. So when we're sharing sales and reviews, we can see if we've had a busy week, there will be more chances of worse reviews because we couldn't give more tailored experiences to the customers because we were so busy that we were not paying attention. So when we deliver this information in group meetings, or it could be personal, small factor meetings, we need to put it in a private area or somewhere that only the staff members can attend. We can also send this by email or by through word of mouth in the meeting time, have everybody collaborate. And the effects, we can all focus on how to better our customer experience and still keep a busy momentum in our sales, so we can make more sales but still have a better customer satisfaction rate. And we can always strive to have a 0 negative feedback ratio, so meaning we want to have 100% of our sales increasing in a positive direction, but have a 0 negative feedback and only positive. If we're getting negative feedback in the sense that our customers may not like our product, we just eliminate the product. But if it's something to do with our service, we always try and improve it. So this could be in a meeting, so talk about in sharing our thoughts in a meeting and giving out information on sales and reviews and feedbacks, and focusing on how to get to a increasing sales number with a 0 negative review feedback, and how we can implement better service styles and activities to make the customer happy without losing sales in the future. Okay, so once you've completed that, unpause the video, come back, and we can move on to the... Okay. 2.4. Identify and plan strategies, opportunities for improvement of work group in liaison with the work group. So strategies for improvement could be career planning and development, recognition of current competence or upskilling, coaching, mentoring, or being supervised, taking under their wing, being formal or informal learning programs, having them conduct internal, external training provisions, being involved in performance appraisals, or encourage personal study within the team members. So give examples of strategies and opportunities for improvement of a work group. So we've just talked about these before. We could have career planning, skill recognition, coaching, mentoring, formal and informal learning programs, external or internal training, performance reviews or appraisals, and encourage personal study. Describe a specific strategy that you have used within your organization. What did it involve? Did it work? What were the disadvantages? So we always encourage our students to seek training from external providers because it gives them a fresh understanding, and they're not just using what we tell them. It allows them to see what the external world around them is doing, so they have a new approach and a different way of thinking. Most of them, when they come back from training, it does work. They have a different exposure. They have more drive when they come back to implement those tasks. The disadvantages are that once you've done training, it can become it can lose its effect after a while. So you just need to consistently have your staff members train. Another thing with training externally is it can become costly for the company, and it can deduct from the profits. So you will, if that is a business strategy that you need to keep training within your company and always upskilling, you may need to include that in your final product pricing as well. Okay, so complete that. Once you're done, come back and we can move on to the next one. 3.1. Respect differences in personal values and beliefs and their importance in the development of relationships. Personal values. Values are standards that are considered important. Qualities are held in high regard. Things that are considered to be of worth formed by a belief that is related to the worth of an idea or behavior. And values are influential. Beliefs are often thought to be related to real experiences. Actually, direct experiences are made up of thoughts, they drive behavior, can be related to stereotypes, are an important part of our identity. It can also be religious, cultural, or moral. Influences. Values and beliefs can be influenced and affected by friends and family, the community around us, the experiences we have, the music we listen to, the religions we follow, the cultures that we abide by, technology that we use, the media that we listen to or watch, and the workplace that we are involved in. Respecting personal values and the beliefs of others. An individual should learn about other people's values and beliefs, ask appropriate questions, demonstrate respect and empathy, treat everyone fairly with dignity, raise and discuss ideas constructively, deal with others' points of view sensitively, avoid imposing own values and beliefs on others, respect the rights of others to disagree, be cooperative and not cause offense. Alright, so activity 3A. What are personal values and beliefs? So if we're thinking about personal values and beliefs, these are things that we hold dear to us. So beliefs, these essentially are things that we follow. These could come from personal experiences. Essentially we're thinking about values and beliefs as how we lead our life, how we look towards the future. It could guide us in in our career goals, in what we want to do with our lives, and how we look at life. What can influence personal values and beliefs? So, things such as our experiences, our cultures, our communities, the music that we listen to, the people around us, what they believe, the families that we were born into, the religions we follow, things like that. Why is it important to respect other people's personal values and beliefs? The main reason why is it important because they're human beings and we should respect them as so. If you want to be respected and your beliefs to be respected and held in high regard, we should do the same to others. So if a human being has a belief and it's not the same as yours, as long as it doesn't interfere with your life and the way you lead your life, it should not be a factor to you. So the reason why we need to respect them is because those people have beliefs and religions and communities of people and that they identify with. So if it is working for them, it must be coming from their specific point of view. It might not work for you, but it is working for them, and as long as it doesn't affect you, it should be fine, and let them do what they're doing. But if it's coming and it's something that you don't want to do, identify that to them and say, look, I am totally okay with you doing what you're doing, but I just don't like it and I don't want it to affect me or in our professional aspects. So as long as we can still continue on being productive in the workplace, it shouldn't really matter to me. But if it does become an issue with our productivity, then we need to reevaluate what we can may need to change or what we may need to do. So next is, what actions can demonstrate respect for others? So, doing research, trying to understand where they're coming from, asking them questions and letting them know that you have no previous knowledge on that topic or that religion or that background and you'd like to learn, and being open and having clear communication with them, telling them that you're not coming from a place of hatred, you're just unexperienced or have no knowledge in the topic and you want to know, and allowing them to, if it's not disrespectful or if it's not irregular, allowing them to practice what they believe, as long as it doesn't affect you or the business in any way. If it does, then we may need to evaluate what we may need to change or adapt. But if it doesn't affect the business or you as a whole, then it's okay for the other person to follow whatever they believe. Give an example of an occasion where you had to respect a difference in personal values and beliefs. What did you do? Why did you do it? So in Australia, we live with many cultures, many beliefs. As an Islamic person myself, I don't eat pork, but many Australians do. So, whenever you go to parties, there'll be drinking, they might be gambling, things like that. As long as if you want to attend, that's fine, but if you don't want to take part in those activities, you need to let them know, look, I'm fine for you to take part in gambling or drinking or consuming pork. I'm more than happy for you to do so. It's just I can't do it as my beliefs don't allow me, so I can just stand to the side and spectate and enjoy you in that moment and not be involved. And the reason that we did it was that, it's not culturally what we do, and it's not something that we normally conduct in our lives. So we just let that person know that we cannot drink or smoke or eat pork or whatever it might be, just so that we're being respectful and we don't just reject them without any explanation. Okay, so complete that, come back, and when you're ready we can move on to the next one. 3.2. Identify any linguistic and cultural differences in communication styles and respond appropriately. Cultural differences and communication styles. Cultural differences and language barriers will occur in the workplace because, especially in Australia, everybody's from different backgrounds, so you'll need to understand where they're coming from. Effective communication can be challenging. Behavior of other cultures is hard to understand, especially if you've never been exposed to other cultures before and it might be new to you. Language barriers create difficulties and misunderstandings can occur. So nonverbal communication such as eye contact, body language, the voice speed, mannerisms, volume and vocal noises, gestures and facial expressions, the posture and personal space and touch can really have an effect. In effective communication, you want to establish trust, build a rapport with that person, promote productivity, create good relationships, help to act on risks and opportunities, and make the workplace a bit more safer together so you can build trust within each other. An appropriate response, understanding cultural differences and give appropriate responses accordingly. So if you don't know, do the research or ask them what would be appropriate for me in this case. And if you can't, then you may want to eliminate or remove yourself from that situation. The appropriate way to respond may be in a neutral tone, clearly outline what the problem is for you, using pictures or diagrams, take it a bit slower, and be swift and directly to the point. Don't use slang or jargon. Be considerate for that person and feel what their skill level is so they can understand you at a certain pace. So activity 3B, how may communication differ between cultures? So communication is different, especially from region to region. It can depend on the language, obviously. It can depend on the age. It can depend on the verbiage. It can depend on the speed or the pace of how they speak. It can be because that they may not speak the same language as you. They might not use the same body language as you, or may not look you in the eye, and they may have different aspects or traditions that you may not follow. They might not have slang, or they've never heard that slang before that you're using in a certain language. Okay, so number 2, which aspects of non-verbal communication may vary between cultures? So the language, the body language, the posture, the hand movements, the location of the eyes, could be bowing their heads, could be not speaking when being spoken to by an elder, could be that they may not be trying to face you or moving away from you when you're giving them certain instructions, and many aspects like that. What can poor communication lead to? So if we have poor communication, we can cause big incidents in the workplace. There can be arguments, there can be fights, there can be physical dangers in the workplace and risks. So it can escalate. The more communication we have, the smoother most tasks will go. So try and have good communication in the workplace. What can effective communication help to achieve? So productivity, essentially. The more effective our communication is, the safer our workplace is, and the more productive our team can be. Give examples of ways you can respond. So if we're responding to somebody, we want to be respectful, we want to use their names, we want to be a bit slower, we want to clearly show what we're trying to portray or what we're trying to ask them. We need to get straight to the point, and we may need to use pictures or diagrams if they can't understand our body language or verbal language, things like that. Outline a situation where you have experienced cultural differences within communication styles. How did you overcome these? So many different cultures have a different way of communicating. In Australia, it doesn't matter if you are a male or female, older or younger. It doesn't really matter if you're non-gendered or identify as something other than male or female. Everybody has the same equal level of respect. So if you're, let's say, coming from a South Asian or predominantly Asian background, when the elders are speaking, most youthful or younger people don't really speak when the elders are speaking. So in this case, when people are in Australia, we try and be respectful anyway. We allow everybody to speak and have an opinion. So whenever somebody does speak, we allow them to share their thoughts, and then we share ours. So if we have a group meeting or any sort of staff meeting, any sort of brainstorming sessions with our team members, we allow everybody to have a say. We don't just have the most experienced or the oldest person to conduct the meeting and not allow anyone else to have involvement. We enable everybody to be involved. Okay, so complete that. Once you're ready, come back, unpause the video, and we can move on to the next one. Identify issues, problems, and conflict encountered in the workplace. Issues in the workplace. Issues and problems that may occur in the workplace may include stress, bullying, violence, safety issues, and discrimination. Types of conflict that may occur in the workplace, such as responsibility, leadership, background, style, and personality. Effects of conflict in the workplace. So you've got job dissatisfaction, you can have depression, hopelessness, and just give up, general unhappiness, absenteeism, withdrawal, or ultimately resignation from the job. So give examples of issues that may occur in the workplace. So we could have bullying, we could have, stress or unhappiness. We could have, things like people being dominant. We could have people not assessing somebody correctly or underestimating them and their skills. Okay, choose one issue and explain the effect it may have. So if we're talking about bullying, it can cause depression, it can cause dissatisfaction of the employee at the workplace. They can disconnect and not do their best and have lower productivity. If they're not happy, they can ultimately, we may lose an experienced or, a prominently somebody who takes part in our day-to-day task. We could lose them and they would resign from the job, essentially. So we don't want to do that. We want to have good communication. We want them to enjoy what they're doing so we can ultimately have more productivity and make more profits for the business. Why may a conflict occur in the workplace? So there could be a contradiction in leadership. It could be problems in output. It could be contradictions with the way or the style of the task that is conducted, or how there might be an issue with people feeling like they've not been credited and not given enough appreciation, or left out of being acknowledged. What might be the effects of conflict in the workplace? So when there are conflicts, you could have violence occur. You might have people getting hurt. You could have employees feeling like that they're in danger at the workplace and they're not safe, and ultimately they would quit the job because they don't feel safe and they're not happy with what they're doing, or they could hurt someone else. Okay. Alright, so complete those. Once you're done, come back and we can move on to the next one. 3.4. Seek assistance from workgroup members when issues, problems and conflicts arise, and suggest possible ways of dealing with them as appropriate, or refer them to appropriate person. Conflict resolution techniques. 5 steps to conflict resolution. Set the scene. Gather information. Agree that there is a problem. Discuss possible solutions. And negotiate a solution. Managing conflict. People should expect conflicts to happen. They should handle conflicts sooner rather than later. Take other people's opinions into account when dealing with conflicts. Be open to compromise. Avoid gossiping. Let everyone speak and listen carefully. Activity 3D. Which steps should be followed as part of the conflict resolution process? So when we're doing conflict resolution, we should be setting the scene. We should gather all the information that is available to us. Agree that there is a problem. Discuss any possible solutions that we could come up with, and then negotiate an ultimate solution. What are the benefits of resolving conflict in the workplace? So when we benefit, we all benefit. When we resolve a conflict, we can gain more confidence from our workers. We can make them feel safe. We can make sure that they're heard of, so that they don't feel left out, and that they are connected more to the business and they feel like that they're being taken care of. And ultimately, resolving the conflict allows us to be more productive and make more profits for the company. What should workers do for the successful management and resolution of conflict? So when we're successfully resolving a conflict, we should be expecting that there's a conflict, and we should, have contingencies in place so that we can solve them. Handle conflicts sooner rather than later. Take everybody's opinion into account. Be open to compromise with each other. Avoid gossiping. Let everyone speak and listen carefully. So, as this is the last activity, hopefully your workbook is done and completed. And once you've done that, submit that to your trainer. After this, I'd suggest that you complete the multiple choice questions, as this will become available to you as your trainers complete the training aspect of the unit. Once you've done that, your trainers will guide you on how to complete the knowledge, skill and performance aspects of the unit. So these assessments will be conducted and your trainer will tell you when and where they will conduct them. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to email me at admin@wisemanaeducation.com.au. If you've got any feedback or any questions, you can ask me if you see me, or just email me or one of your trainers and we'll try to answer you to the best of our ability. So that's it for today. Hopefully I'll see you on the next one.